Let's go up to our ring announcer.
The following podcast is scheduled for one episode and is our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast.
Outside, we couldn't see it from our vantage point.
Wrestling fans, and welcome back to our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast. We are glad to be with you here on Monday, October 16th for episode number 53. As always, I am Joe Murata alongside the one and only Michael Quinn. How you doing there, Michael?
Howdy doody.
Good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you too.
Folks, thank you for joining us as we romp through the world of retro wrestling. Thank you so much for being back with us for yet another week. Michael Quinn, did you know that we have now been doing this for over a year?
Wow.
In real time.
One whole year. Can you believe it?
I actually can't sometimes.
The year anniversary.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The little podcast that could, and obviously we couldn't do it without the support of all of our fans.
No, we couldn't. And this has been quite a journey. We started with nothing. We just kind of did this just to do it.
Literally just an idea we had at 1 in the morning one night.
Yeah.
Last October.
And now here we are 1 year later.
We're very thankful to you guys, and we just wanted to be very honest to open the show there. Thank you for all of your support for this past year.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Before we start the show, though, let's get to a few administrative things, shall we?
Sure.
As always, follow us on Twitter at OVP Podcast, and there you can tweet at us. You can send us the GIFs, the GIFs, maybe you pronounce
it. The Jiffies, yeah.
That's right. And, of course, you can email us at ovppodcast@gmail.com. That is vppodcast@gmail.com. And that's fine if you want to contact us there. But Quinn, the main place to hang out with us and the whole OVP family is the Facebook group.
Yes, the Facebook group. It's where we talk about the old wrestling with all our friends and family now.
Yes,
they're our family
right.
now, yeah.
The OVP family.
And you can find it by going over to facebook.feet.com and searching for our Vantage Point Retro Wrestling Podcast.
That's right.
And you just can hit the join button. We'll approve you, and whammo, you're chatting away with us.
Whammo. Quinn, what goes on in this group?
Hijinks, shenanigans, and clips and things. And
Ruben Vasquez bringing up Mac Rivera all the time.
Right. Isn't Mac Rivera like in the group now somehow?
He is. Yeah. Yes, somehow I was able to finagle something through the help of one of our sources there and get him invited to the group.
Yeah.
Someone else who's actually been commenting a few times and involved a little bit is Chris Cruz.
Yes.
The old WCW announcer.
Yes.
That I hope he never listens to episode 12 when we made fun of him.
Oh, sorry, like after the fact,
Yes,
Chris.
very sorry. Yeah. I'm sure he's got a healthy sense of humor about it.
He probably does.
But anyway, check out that Facebook group. Of course, you can go to our website, ovppodcast.com, where you can find links to many things. One of those things is the suggestion box, and basically what that is a Google Sheet. You can type in something if you want us to review. If you have a suggestion for Rushmore, Death Valley, type away. It's public. Just don't do any crude messages in there.
Yeah,
you know?
don't make weird symbols that may look like a penis or something like that.
Yes, right. But another thing, Quinn, and this is being launched today, is our Patreon. There's going to be a link to that on our website.
Wow, Patreon.
With no pressure, honestly, folks, we mean this. Only give us money if you want to.
Yes.
We are never going to beg for your money.
No, we aren't.
Never, ever, ever. But it is there now, starting today, if you would like to donate. And Quinn, if they go there, they'll see the reward kind of tiers and everything. Some exclusive video content.
There'll be all sorts of content, and we'll go with it as you guys like what you want.
Yep.
You know, we're going to just leave it to the fans to really show us where they want this content to go.
Yep,
really.
Where you want us to take it. And that's really says a lot about our loyal fan base. And again, this is a little bit of fan service, this first segment. Thank you guys.
Thank
we
you.
wouldn't even have dreamed of opening a Patreon.
Yeah.
And that's why we promise we will never beg for your money.
No, we will just give you good content.
That's it.
And we'll go with it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And one last thing before we move on to our first segment, Quinn. This is actually, we announced this last week and on our Facebook group, this is our last episode for the Place to Be Nation.
Yes, it is.
Place to Be is, we've been on that network since January.
Right.
And Scott Keith worked that out for us.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you to Scott Keith, and thank you to Brad and JT and all the guys at Place to Be for taking us on for a year. To be very clear about this, we are leaving amicably.
Yeah.
This is totally our decision.
Mm-hmm.
There was no big fallout or blow up or anything. We have simply decided to continue to grow our own community.
Yep, independent
of the Place to Be Nation. So this is the last time to find us on Place to Be Nation. Quinn, if they want to still listen to us, let's say you only have listened to us on Place to Be, and you want to listen to us still after this week, what could they do?
Well, you can go find our feed. We have our own feed. We always have. It's the Our Vantage Point Retro Wrestling Podcast. If you look it up on iTunes and Google Play, Stitcher, like all those places that, we joke about, but it's very important this time that if you want to hear the show continue on into its second year, you need to go subscribe to the other feed.
Again, available on iTunes, which is Apple Podcasts,
Google
Play, Stitcher, Blueberry, pretty much wherever podcasts are, including Otis Radio.
Who cares?
Oh, okay. Excuse me. But yes, a big thank you to the Place to Be Nation. They're still going to be friends of the show.
Yes, they will.
As we will be with them. And one show we always want to single out there is our little brother show, Quinn.
Yes.
On the Pro Wrestling Only feed of Place to Be Nation. That would be Petey Winson.
Little Petey, our friend to the end.
Yeah, and he does Greetings from Allentown, GF Allentown, a lonely show.
You could also talk to Petey on our boards, too.
He is there. That's right. I think he's just sniffing around for, ideas to steal from us. Just kidding, Petey. All right, Quinn, I think we're ready here. After this long preamble, I think it's time to actually talk about the retro wrestling.
Yeah, well, it's a special week. It's the year anniversary.
It is a very big deal.
Yeah.
Folks, if you've been listening in the last two episodes, you know that we just launched a new narrative, a new segment, if you will. It is called the Foundational Series for the Modern Era. And basically what we have been doing is going through kind of the Hulkamania era and what got us there, and we'll see where we end. I'm not giving that away.
Oh, no spoilers
No. But when we last left off, the Hulkamania era was in full force, and it's the late 80s, 1988, the main event on NBC. Vince McMahon has done everything right, it seems, to build this small little business of people fake fighting into a global phenomenon.
Empire, if you will.
I will.
I got some kind of free advice. I finally had to say, stand back.
However, several hundred miles south, Quinn, there is wrestling.
Oh, is there?
Yes, there is.
You wouldn't know it by looking on national television.
No, you wouldn't. But there was a little thing called the NWA, as we have mentioned.
What's that?
Well, the National Wrestling Alliance was the conglomeration of old-timey promoters in the suits, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the bourbon.
Oh, right. The Shining picture.
Yeah,
the
the
gorilla
Shining
was
picture.
there somehow.
Will you stop?
And by this point in 1988, the largest member was headed up by a man named Jim Crockett Jr. of Jim Crockett Promotions, JCP they called it.
Mm-hmm.
He had been competing with Vince for a few years now by this point in 1988.
Yes, he had.
If you recall, Quinn, there was some cock blocking that Vince would pull on him with Survivor Series pay-per-view.
We've talked about it on the Survivor Series show.
Yes.
I think we've talked about
The
it.
Rumble
The
as
Rumble,
well.
yeah. Other things with, how Clash of the Champions, that kind of thing. But
yes,
let's take it back a little bit here.
Let's take it even further. Now, Jim Crockett Jr., who the hell is that?
Yes.
Who is that guy?
He's second generation, I know that.
He is, Quinn. His dad was a wrestling promoter in the NWA.
Yeah.
Jim Crockett Promotions, until 1973 when he passed. And basically, as we had mentioned, the NWA was all different local promotions, right? Mm-hmm. So Jim Crockett Sr.'s promotion was in the Carolinas.
Yes, it was.
And basically what they did there is they did the wrestling.
They did very wrestle. They were wrestly.
Yeah, they were very wrestly.
This is old school. This is the NWA. This is the World Heavyweight Championship. This is the Terry Funks.
The Gene Knitsky.
Yeah.
Guys like that.
These guys.
Lou Thez.
Yeah.
That NWA champion.
The same NWA that Vern split off of that we talked about.
In 60 or whenever.
Yeah.
Yep. The same one that Vince McMahon Sr. split off of, then went back to.
Yeah.
And then Vince Jr. split off of.
But these guys, they never left.
No.
And they became the predominant, NWA territory.
Proprietors, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Now, when Jim Crockett Sr. passed away in 1973, his son, Jim Crockett Jr., who had never really been too involved in the business,
yes,
was suddenly handed it.
Yeah, and it was rough for him at first. I mean, a lot of people don't remember, they think like Jim Crockett Sr. died in the 80s or something.
Right.
Because the Crockett Memorial Cup.
Yeah.
He died in like 73.
Yes.
And they were like, they had to build that up. It wasn't just like they inherited some like NWA Empire
Right.
or something. Like they talk about in the WCW DVD, if you want to check it out, they do talk about having to literally reconnect with everyone. Nobody wanted to do business with them. They're like, who are these people?
Right, exactly. No, I mean, it says a lot for Jim Crockett Jr.
Yeah.
to be able to go from kind of nothing. And what it wasn't zero. It was a small promotion.
And they did a lot of things, boxing, and they were all over the place.
Right, like any promoter, you try to find your footing.
Yeah.
And you get somewhere, and in this case, it was wrestling. But they were in NWA territory in the Carolinas. That's what they were. However, in the late 70s, and as the 80s rolled on, they started to expand. So now maybe instead of North and South Carolina, now we're starting to run shows in Tennessee and maybe West Virginia, Georgia, Ohio, kind of just spreading out a bit, the same way Vince Jr. was doing around the same time.
Spreading out more in his area.
Correct, yes.
Rather than Vince just barnstorming into like wherever the hell he felt like.
Yes, this was a more like subtle tiptoe into other areas. Like, hey, is it okay if I go to Tennessee?
It's like, oh, they like NWA over there, right? It's more nice.
Right. Very Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
What's this over here?
You never heard of grits?
Sure. I heard of grits. I just actually never seen a grit before.
And basically his whole vision here, Quinn, and for you folks at home, was to unite the NWA into like one thing.
Yes.
Instead of a bunch of different fingers, you know?
A lot more continuity, not the champion would come once a year to each territory, and there would be like other belts that were probably more important in the territory rather than the world title, but
exactly,
that kind of thing.
Yeah, and so much so was Jim Crockett Jr. a preeminent figure in the NWA. He was actually their president for like almost all of the 80s.
Yes.
And into the 90s.
Well, obviously the biggest territory would probably be the president.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was Jim Crockett Jr., make no mistake about it. But however, alongside all of this, Quinn, there's a fella, some might call him a media mogul. I've heard that term.
I've heard it.
Perhaps a tycoon, not sure. Ted Turner. You ever hear of Ted Turner?
I have, and some people listening to this might have not, because Ted Turner hasn't been much of a thing since, the
AOL Time Warner.
2001 or something.
Exactly, the merger.
Yeah.
Now, Ted Turner, Quinn, he owned a station called WTBS in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, an early cable television station.
From Turner Broadcasting System, you're watching Superstation WTBS, Atlanta.
Now, what made that different from turning on your NBC affiliate? What made a cable station different?
Well, a cable station, unlike a television station, like with the affiliates, it's like you got just what your affiliate got, basically. And they were in a network.
Yep.
So like the shows in prime time, they would be, whatever the network gave them. But at all other times, it'd be the local news and the local this and the local that. The television landscape, it was smaller.
Yes.
You had if you had a wrestling show, you had to go to the affiliate to get it on. You didn't go to the network.
Right.
Exactly. However, with cable, a cable system was united, kind of like what these guys wanted to do, have a uniform thing, right? But television was just starting to become united with cable.
Right.
And WTBS was probably the early standout on cable.
Yes, it was.
It was the big channel that, every cable system had.
Yep.
So think of it this way. As opposed to having one affiliate and you could only get that wrestling in that area, all of a sudden, if you're on this cable channel, you're in every single television that has cable in the United States of America.
Yeah. Anywhere that they picked up this channel for their cable provider, you had it.
Right.
Now, he was running something here called Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Thanks for watching Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Now, this is another NWA affiliate.
Right.
It is not Jim Crockett's affiliate at this point. But Ted Turner was a wrestling fan. He also, of course, owned the Atlanta Braves, the Atlanta Hawks.
Yes.
Big Atlanta mogul, so to speak.
Yeah, he was that was his base of operations. Yeah.
You ever heard of CNN?
Yeah, that's
Ted
Turner. Yeah, exactly.
That's who this guy was.
Ted Turner, the man from Atlanta.
But he liked wrestling. I like wrestling.
He did, and he genuinely did.
He was a fan.
I don't want to make fun of Ted Turner like it was some kind of like cash grab. The guy just liked wrestling.
He thought it was stupid in a good way.
Yeah, and he was like, I want it on my network. Yeah. It's good.
And his fan base liked it too. So Georgia Championship Wrestling is renamed World Championship Wrestling. Now, that's a television show.
Just the TV show.
Welcome to very best in professional wrestling, World Championship Wrestling. David Crockett along with Tony Schiavone.
Now, that's a great show.
Yes,
and we have talked about that show plenty of times.
Yes.
And that had a lot of that big NWA talents, and it was run at this point by Jim Barnett, you might know that name, then the Briscoes, Jack and Jerry, and eventually Ole Anderson.
They own the time slot.
They owned this time slot for this television show.
Yeah, on TBS.
On TBS.
And it was an NWA affiliate. That's important.
It is very important. A day that you might have heard of. Black Saturday, July 14th, 1984. The majority shareholders of this time slot and of Georgia Championship Wrestling, Jack and Jerry Briscoe.
Right. They own the entity that owned the time slot.
Correct. They sell, Quinn, to whom?
Vince McMahon. They sell the company to Vince McMahon.
Correct. Vince McMahon Jr.
Yes.
The guy we talked about these last two segments that is barnstorming.
Right.
Like you said, Mr. New York, right?
Yeah.
The guy that is promoting New York. We are not in the NWA. We want nothing to do with the NWA. What does he do? He buys Georgia Championship Wrestling's time slot.
Yes. He didn't go up to Ted Turner and buy the slot.
No, he bought it from the Briscoes.
He bought the company.
From the Briscoes.
And he inherited that asset,
Correct.
which was the contract to the time slot.
Exactly. So basically, this wasn't Turner saying, I want to sell to Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
It was McMahon working with the Briscoes to actually get the company and thus the time slot.
Yes.
And it was called Black Saturday, and everyone down there hated what Vince did.
Thank you. It is indeed a pleasure to be associated with WTBS, and we promise to bring you the greatest in professional wrestling entertainment in the world today. We will have this week, as a matter of fact, exclusive footage on a matchup involving the Iron Sheik.
Fucking bullshit!
Now, it's an interesting situation, actually, because you hear it a lot from the WCW perspective or NWA perspective.
Sure.
And they say, oh, we all hated it. But for people up in the North, because if everyone gets WTBS, they probably were like, oh, this is cool. WWF's also on this channel at another time. Which, by the way, the time slot is important. It's 6:05 p.m.
Yes.
2 hours
Yes.
of professional wrestling.
Yes.
And it was an awesome time slot, by the way. And everyone knew that it was on at 6:05.
Correct. It was jarring for the Southern fan. The people that were really the main fan base of GCW World Championship Wrestling at this point, to all of a sudden see Vince McMahon and Gorilla Monsoon.
This is Gorilla Monsoon along with my colleague and friend Freddie Miller and another 2-hour extravaganza of Georgia Championship Wrestling, Freddie.
Yeah.
And King Kong Bundy and Jimmy Snuka and all these guys.
And not only that,
their show.
Vince McMahon with the WCW background, World Championship Wrestling.
Yep. And Gorilla Monsoon calling matches.
Yes. And
in that studio.
It's a horrible episode, by the way. Have you ever seen the
first one? Yeah,
it's really
terrible.
bad. It's almost like a middle finger.
Let's go to a clip right now.
All right, there's a good look at Bobo on the comeback trail as Bobo Brazil hopes to make a big mark for himself in a win over Big John Studd.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not fun. And eventually, fans got pissed and they called in to TBS and they were like, we don't like this because their biggest fan base is still the South at this point. TBS.
That's where they're getting their highest ratings.
Of course. So basically, they get a different time slot. Ole Anderson does something now called Championship Wrestling from Georgia. It's kind of a different time slot. I believe it was Saturday or Sunday mornings.
How about that? Thank you so very much, and welcome to Championship Wrestling from Georgia.
Crockett didn't own this initially. Let's bear this in mind.
Right. He never owned it. It was the Briscoes, as we said.
And Jim
so
Barnett,
now Vince owns the asset of the contract, and he is able to sell said contract.
Yes. To Jim Crockett. Now, he does this the day before WrestleMania 1, March 30th, 1985. And there's that old story, basically that selling that bankrolled WrestleMania. Kind of was like a safety net for WrestleMania.
Yes, but also the Crockett survival was there because we haven't mentioned yet the Crockett's being the leaders in the NWA, their talent appeared on this WCW show.
It did.
It was important to them that Ric Flair was seen on TV. It was important to them that Dusty Rhodes was seen on WTBS.
And what about maybe the equivalent of their Hulk Hogan, Magnum TA?
Yes.
This is Bill Apter, and I got to say it this way, Magnum TA.
It was important that all of these people made appearances down in the Georgia Championship Wrestling to be seen on WTBS.
Especially as part of Jim Crockett's efforts to unite the NWA.
Right.
You don't want a piece of the puzzle taken away.
Right, and this was the biggest piece. I can't tell you how important this television time slot. This was like how, with Nitro or whatever, You know, the old rumor that the company
yep.
was they could have the company but not the television.
The television
time. So
time, yep.
it was worth $5. Who cares? You know,
Yep.
It's the same exact thing.
This is where people saw the product that they were peddling.
Right.
You don't have the time slot. How are people going to see it?
Right.
One important detail here, folks, is that when Vince McMahon sold this time slot, he had refused this whole time to sell it back to Ted Turner.
Ted Turner was trying to buy it back.
Vince said no, but he finally cut his losses, sold it to Crockett, not Turner. Very interesting point. You know, becomes important later. So anyway, essentially, Crockett now owns the WCW show.
Right.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
World Championship
Jim
Wrestling.
Crockett Promotions,
Yes.
WCW, basically.
They own that, and they're still the largest NWA affiliate. Now, Crockett is buying out Bill Watts' Mid-South, which was then renamed UWF. He buys that in 1987 as part of his expansion. At one point, he even worked with Vern Gagne in the mid-'80s at something called Pro Wrestling USA, and it was basically the AWA and NWA teaming up.
Featuring the top stars of the AWA and the NWA.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
But basically, Crockett's vision, and we want to point out the parallel here to Vince, is to unite the NWA, buy up territories, and take this crap national.
Yes, and we've talked a lot of business here.
Yes.
But there's reasons why this was a viable thing. This was some of the best wrestling product there was in the entire 1980s,
Yes.
late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s.
That there was.
Yeah. There was guys like Ric Flair.
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair in his prime Ric Flair.
The Ric Flair.
Dusty Rhodes.
The Rock and Roll Express.
The Road Warriors.
Sting.
You name it.
The Midnight Express.
Anyone you associate WCW with and in its roots.
Yep.
That was it. This was a big product, and it could stand toe to toe with Hulk Hogan, Macho Man.
Absolutely.
You know,
Ultimate
anything.
Warrior.
You know, anything they had.
100% right, Quinn. This was a real competition they had going on. And the talent was balanced here. I mean,
right.
And a lot of people, folks, let's say maybe you were raised only a WWF fan. I know we have a lot of WWF fans.
Yeah.
This is not WWF the way they wrestled.
No, not at all. It was more treated as a sport.
Much more.
And there was a lot more like Broadway's, which is a 1 hour match if you don't know the term.
1 hour draw, yep.
Yeah, a lot more just competitive, back and forth. I actually like WCW, the show, World Championship Wrestling, because a lot of the matches, you'd see jobbers fight, you know, the normal talent or whatever.
Yep.
But it was like competitive.
Yeah, it was different.
It was way different and in a good way.
Yes.
Like it was a back and forth contest, and eventually he would squash him. But it was just presented different, and it was in a small studio. But you would think, I don't usually like small things, but the way that show is presented, you feel like you're kind of in there.
It's cozy.
It's cozy.
It's intimate.
The interview table's like right next to the ring.
Right next to the ring, right.
It's cool.
And basically, you tune in week to week, you get attached to these characters.
Yeah.
You get attached to the champion when he comes on, Ric Flair.
Right.
You love to hate him.
Right.
You want to see him get his ass kicked, but you can't help but watch him.
And laugh. He was funny.
And he was
very
funny.
entertaining.
And last year, I spent more money on spilt liquor in bars from one side of this world to the other than you made.
And, like, even the small-time characters, like, I remember loving the Pistol Pez change to Shasta
Sure.
Watley. Like,
Why not?
There's all these, like, little stupid things that
Yes.
happen. I love Tully Blanchard
Awesome.
as a singles
Yep.
TV champion,
And of
US
course, like
champion,
Jimmy
whatever.
Garvin.
Yeah.
There's so much good stuff that's
Yeah.
going on there
Right.
in the NWA.
This is no pushover. I just wanted, like,
Give it its due.
give it its due. And they were doing pay-per-views.
And they were competing head-to-head with Vince. Vince won. He pulled some power plays.
Yeah, no shit.
But anyway, Quinn, as we wrap up the end of the JCP era here, by 87, 88, despite or maybe, you know, partially because of this massive expansion, massive, you know, relative to what it was, JCP is losing money and losing money fast.
They were losing it so fast that they didn't know they were losing it.
Right.
That's when you know the expansion was out of control, because the famous story is that the accountant comes in to Jim Crockett's office one day and he says, "Jimmy, we're $5 million in the hole."
Whoops.
And he was stunned. Like everyone, like the jaws dropped and they couldn't believe it. They were like, how did this happen?
Yep.
It was like quite stunning.
They were just hemorrhaging money. No one realized it. No one caught it. All of a sudden, boom.
Within months, they were hemorrhaging. It wasn't poor management. It was so fast.
It was just so fast. But in November of 1988, a little company called Turner Broadcasting Systems, TBS, that same Ted Turner,
the
one who Vince McMahon had refused to sell to, he now purchases JCP, Jim Crockett Promotions, for $9 million and officially rebrands all Jim Crockett-controlled wrestling as World Championship Wrestling.
Which is a great idea, because we know how popular that show was.
All this plus an update on Nature Boy Ric Flair tonight on Superstation TBS and World Championship Wrestling.
Now, by this point in the late 80s, as the 90s start to roll on, your Dusty Rhodes, big star, out.
Mm-hmm.
The Four Horsemen as an entity, gone.
Yeah.
Ric Flair, though, still the man.
Carrying the banner.
And in fact, he would seemingly have classic matches with Ricky Steamboat throughout 1989 to close out the 80s.
Yep.
A great period still for the NWA. And WCW now, World Championship Wrestling, has finally picked up where Jim Crockett Promotions left off.
Yes.
In terms of the national expansion, someone that really might be able to finally compete with the juggernaut that was Vince McMahon.
And more importantly, had the finances to compete.
Do so. But Quinn, what will all of this mean for all of the smaller territories as the 90s lurch forward? Back after this.
I bought myself a network. I bought myself a World Series. I bought myself a library of classic movies. Heck, I even colorized a few of them. So why can't I buy the WWF?
We've been trying, Ted.
How come their wrestling is still better than ours?
They've got better athletes. All we've got are the disloyal, greedy has-beens from the 80s.
Who you calling a has-been, brother?
Can't blame a guy for trying to make a buck.
Who you calling disloyal? Besides, I started in the 70s, not the 80s.
Well, then go out there and buy me some of those WWF generation superstars.
The new WWF generation. It's not good.
From Harley Race to Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair to The Rock, Sting to Steve Austin, you're listening to our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast.
And welcome back, wrestling fans, to our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast. Thank you so much for being with us for episode number 53 here on Monday, October 16th, 2017. Quick reminder, this is our last episode for the Place to Be Nation, so you can go subscribe to our normal feed if you want to make sure you don't miss an episode, and you can find that on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or Stitcher. Is that right, Michael Quinn?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, Quinn, I suppose you can introduce our next segment here. This is, of course, Mount Rushmore and Death Valley, where each week we will put 4 of the best of something onto Mount Rushmore, and 4 of the worst will go down into the desert of Death Valley. Be sure to let us know if you have any suggestions. You can do that by going to the suggestion box and typing it in. Type in your name, what you want us to talk about. Quinn, why don't you go ahead and tell us what we're talking about here?
Well, this week we have a suggestion from Jimmy Borden.
Good old Jimmy.
Good old Jimmy Borden. And I like this one a lot.
Okay, what do we got, man?
This is the Mount Rushmore and Death Valley of old school wrestling video games.
I like it.
Yes. And
good one, Borden.
Yeah. The old school aspect, we're going to, cut it off at a certain point, Joe.
Which point is this, Michael?
Around the N64, PlayStation 1 era, Saturn, if you played that.
I don't know if anyone did.
Yeah.
That's good, though, because that ended around 01, that era.
Right.
Which is kind of our cutoff for the Attitude Era and the retro wrestling, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Well, I suppose since you had the choice, I have the voice.
Yes, that is correct. And we didn't say it wrong or anything.
No, we did it perfectly.
Yes.
For our friends out there. There's some good ones out there, Michael.
Yes, there is. There's very many.
There were some good graphics. That was a big deal back
graphics.
then. Yeah, the
got
graphics.
Good ratings in Game Pro.
I'm going to go with WrestleFest for the arcade, 1991 by Tecmo. I love that game.
I know, you're a big fan of it.
WrestleFest, folks, if you haven't heard of it, because this is an audio podcast, okay, so you're not going to see it as we talk about it. Big, colorful characters. It looked like you were wrestling in Saturday night's main event, and it had the greatest roster for that time.
It was really good. It looked really good.
Yes.
I just think it played pretty clunky. It's still in the early days of, wrestling video games, where they were, figuring shit out.
Yeah, but there was a good amount of moves, and you could be Hulk Hogan and Earthquake and Randy Savage.
Hey, I have nothing against the roster.
Great roster.
The look of it is really stands out, and I love like pixelated graphics like that.
Yeah.
It's more 16-bit than it is 8-bit because it comes in that in-between era, but because it was arcade.
Yeah, it's 16-bit.
Yeah,
definitely.
and you can go and play it on MAME. It's free because MAME everything is free, basically.
Right.
Like, that's not even like you're not even stealing. It's
No.
like that arcade game doesn't exist anymore,
Right.
and you're never going to find it.
And it's got Mike McGurk as the ring announcer.
Yeah.
I like her.
It's great. It's a great
Patterson
game.
is the ref. And Quinn, do you know who the final bosses are? Do you remember?
I don't even remember.
The LOD.
We snack on danger, dine on death. You bury every gerbil-faced geek we face. Yeah!
Oh!
Well, they're evil to me, so.
All right. Well, you want a volley?
I do want a volley because I actually think the best of the old school games is surprising for a lot of people. It's probably the last one of the old school games.
Really? What is that?
SmackDown 2.
Yeah.
SmackDown 2 on PlayStation 1. That was like the best thing ever.
That was the crown jewel,
Yeah.
the crowning achievement to that point, I would say, for wrestling video games.
Right. It was like a culmination.
The best of everything?
Basically, like everything that ever existed in wrestling games, they took all the good ideas and then they put it in a game. And
Yes,
it was
they did.
great.
It was really good because you got to remember the time frame, folks. Relative to when it came out, this is late 2000 when this came out.
Yeah.
It's on PlayStation 1.
And it's coming off, SmackDown was really good. It was a
first
good
one, yeah.
start.
It was.
But this game blew it out of the water.
Completely blew it out of the water. Every match type imaginable.
It was ridiculous. It moved very fast.
Arcade style.
So they kind of took that WrestleMania, the arcade game, like movement style, where it was like really fast.
Rapid fire, no selling everything.
They brought in a little bit of the grappling from, the N64 style games,
Yes,
right?
they did, yep.
However, it was abbreviated. It was faster, and punching mattered. Like, kind of everything mattered. Like
striking, throwing, a little of everything.
You had weapons.
Yep. Yeah.
You could go somewhere.
You could go all around the arena, the backstage. It was great.
That was a new thing at the time.
Get run over by a car by accident. Like, there was shit like that. They're like goofy stuff.
And the very cool thing was the season mode for me. It was the first
I know,
game with
you're
a
a big fan.
very cool season mode because you could literally like play through like a year in the WWE.
Yes.
Or WWF at the time.
WWF at the time. You know what? It was really, really revolutionary in its own way. And that was the launch pad for the 2K series that is still going on now.
Right. It's the basis for like all wrestling games.
It is.
They have a season mode. They got classic characters.
Yep.
You could go backstage. You could fight the ring. You have a million match types. It's like how they do it.
Not to mention the best creator wrestler that had ever been seen to that point.
Yes.
That was the best
Really
one.
good.
It was such a good game.
Yeah.
I played the crap out of it. I'm fine with putting it on as number
I
one.
think that's like easily number one.
If our cutoff is the PlayStation and N64 era, then that's a fair justification. So for number one, I would say SmackDown 2 for PlayStation. You know, Michael.
Yeah.
If we're going to hold WrestleFest in abeyance for the time
I'll
being.
hold it in abeyance.
A really good wrestling game, which was not a WWF game, was made by our friends at Capcom.
Ah, yes.
Saturday Night Slam Masters.
Yes, Saturday Night Slam Masters, another great one.
Oh.
It played more like a Street Fighter game, sort of.
To an extent.
Yeah,
yes.
it had Mike Hagar from Final Fight in it.
Great game. It came out in the arcade, and then they also ported it to Super Nintendo and Genesis.
Yeah, and it had some wacky characters. I remember there was like a guy that was like Japanese with the face paint and like bushy hair.
Yeah, the Great Oni.
Yes, Oni, yes.
And they had Alexander the Greater, which was clearly a Vader imitation.
Yeah.
And they had Gunlock, who was kind of like Guile.
Great game.
Great game.
Really great game. And honestly, I heard it said recently, like, why didn't Capcom make more wrestling games? Like, why didn't they have the license to WWF? Because it probably would have been awesome.
Man, if anyone could do like a fun, playable arcade-style game,
They were a fighting
knew
game
how.
company. Like
Final Fight, Street Fighter, and of course Mega Man. All these entertaining games that Capcom had. And Saturday Night Slam Masters was an awesome, fun game. Quinn, you and I used to play it on MAME a couple of years ago.
Yes.
I remember doing this with you.
Yes, we played it on some emulator or something.
And how into it were we?
Oh, it's great. It's hard as hell, though.
Right.
Like, it's not like your typical wrestling game at all.
The arcade version does not fuck around.
Yeah, and I think that's the only knock I have against it.
It's hard.
It doesn't play like you would think a wrestling game. It's very different. It's nothing like how wrestling games were at the time.
But very fun.
Yes, very fun, and I would definitely rank it up there. I think it should be in abeyance with
With WrestleFest?
WrestleFest, yes.
Okay. Well, you got another one?
This one, to me, it's more influential. It might not be the best one.
Okay.
But WCW versus The World. Do you remember that? That was the first, those N64 types, but it was on PlayStation.
Here's what I'll say to that. That was the people that wound up doing WCW Revenge and all that stuff on 64. It's influential, but if we're going to talk that style, what is that, AKI?
Yeah.
The best one of the WCW one, but probably one of the best games ever.
Yeah.
WCW NWO Revenge for 64.
Right. That one was that was the better one. I just wanted to give kind of a shout out to Versus the World because that's where it started.
It started there in 96.
Yeah.
Then the next year it went to WCW NWO World Tour,
which was on N64.
And a better game.
Yeah.
Then by Revenge in 98, holy shit.
Yeah, Revenge was ridiculous because it took what Versus the World and World Tour were doing, but the characters were like more animated. Like they were better.
Beautiful.
They looked way better.
Looked great.
They
There
had
were
full
finishers,
entrances. Yeah, and I just loved the system, like how it just worked with the weapons under the ring and just you could do all sorts of crazy stuff. There wasn't really a creative wrestler, I don't think, but you could modify like how people looked. You could change their names.
Yes.
So like you could change them and then change their names and they'd eat up a slot.
Yes.
So a
huge roster too.
Great game. And here's the thing. I think a lot of our fans are going to argue because this always comes up.
What?
When you talk about WCW versus the NWO or whatever.
Yeah.
You always get the people that are like, No Mercy is the best one. Diggity dog. Like,
I think it is. I think it is one of the best wrestling games ever made, No Mercy.
I think it is, but I also, I guess it's more when it landed because it's like later or whatever. Isn't it like 02 or something?
No Mercy was 99.
It was
late 99.
Okay, because what about WrestleMania 2000?
Also 99.
Oh, they came out in the same year?
Yeah.
No Mercy was 2000. I'm looking at it right here.
WrestleMania 2000 was first then.
Yeah, because I felt like WrestleMania 2000 was awesome.
It was, but I think No Mercy was even better.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
I really do.
I feel like they were the same thing, just with like different rosters, and I just preferred the WrestleMania 2000 roster.
In a lot of ways, they are, and the WCW version of that was Revenge was really good. It's like all the same engine. It's the AKI THQ merge there.
Well, should we just pick which one's the best?
I think Revenge is, but I know a lot of people say No Mercy is. I personally think Revenge.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Loved Revenge.
I think that was the height of it.
I do too, and I am not Mr. WCW.
Right. It may be a controversial opinion, but I think Revenge is better. And you know what? I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
Let's put No Mercy in abeyance just in case like we need to round out the list or something. It's like I just want to give No Mercy's props because everyone's going to flip out No Mercy.
Great.
Everyone there's tournaments for No Mercy still. Like people love No Mercy.
People mod the game.
Yeah, they love No Mercy so much.
But for me at the time as a fan,
I agree.
Revenge was where it was at, buddy.
Yeah.
WCW beat him to the punch by like 2 years.
Right.
So for number 2, WCW NWO Revenge N64?
Yes.
Let's do it. All right, Michael. We have SmackDown 2. We have Revenge. There is another one that I was actually quite a big fan of.
Yes.
It's not as big, probably, like it's not as well known of a game.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's good. I really liked Raw for Super Nintendo.
Okay.
I loved it.
Let me tell you something.
And Royal Rumble.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Go ahead.
Raw for Super Nintendo was the first wrestling game I played. Like, it was. Like, it was that was the first system I had, and like, I don't know, I just missed Royal Rumble. I had Royal Rumble, I just got Raw first.
Okay, yeah.
And like, I love that game too, Joe.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is really so much fun. The problem is that it aged very poorly.
With that whole tug-of-war style and all that crap.
Yeah, I go back to it and like I instinctively like remember how to play it, but I'm also like, this is kind of shit. Like,
kind of boring after a while, right?
There's not enough emphasis on striking, which SmackDown kind of corrected.
True.
I love it. I don't think Raw has the better characters. I actually like Royal Rumbles.
By Flair and all that.
Yeah, it's cooler. It has Macho Man in it.
DiBiase.
That's freaking Macho Man.
It does have Macho Man. Perfect is in it. Yokozuna.
Yeah.
Well, he's in both.
And they're the same damn game.
They're with minor modifications. they are the same game. They spun off of the Super WrestleMania engine in 92.
Right, which was the primitive version. That
one
got better.
Sucks. Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's got Hulk Hogan. It's the only one that has Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and Rumble for Genesis has Hogan, but no one played that. It's not as good. The Genesis versions of those are not as good.
And you have to remember the time too. Like a game with Hulk Hogan, like in that weird like 94 period of time, like was like
it was weird.
Like there wasn't many games that were good, that were decent to play with Hulk Hogan in them.
Very good point, Quinn.
Yeah.
You know, there's a game that a lot of people love, and it's a Japanese wrestling game that got translated into English in the old ZSNES days on emulation. And that would be Super Fire Pro Wrestling X Premium.
Yes, I've heard of this. I've played it. Okay.
It sucks!
Yeah, it sucks.
I just wanted to say that, even though people like it.
Nut. Okay.
I know I had to bring it up.
I hate that this game and like any of the Fire Pro Wrestling returns and all that bullshit. Okay, enough. I get it. It's like, oh, you can make it. It had Create a Wrestler before anybody else, and it's so good.
Who cares?
It is so hard to play. It's
so
like
hard.
unmanageable. It's like if every finger you had was a thumb and like you were on the controller and you didn't know like what the fuck is this game? Like, and it's from like the weird perspective, like
it's isometric,
top-down bullshit.
It's really bad.
It's really bad, and I get it. It's like, oh, I can watch Vader fight Vince McMahon or some shit like in 1995 if I wanted to. But like, who gives a shit if you can't play it? You can't fucking play the game. I'm glad we ruled that out. Yeah,
I threw you guys at home there a little curveball,
and I can't put it in Death Valley.
No,
either.
it's not going to go in Death Valley.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to get that out of the way in case
I'm glad
anyone
we agree
asks.
on that.
Oh, I do agree. I got to say WrestleFest, Quinn, for number 3. I have to. WrestleFest was awesome. You can't name one. Come on. Unless you want to go to No Mercy.
Well, I want to throw one more out there with a different system.
Go ahead.
WrestleMania, the arcade game.
Oh, God, no.
Why? Okay.
Midway.
I want you to explain why it sucks, and then I'll explain why I think it's pretty good.
This is if the guys from Mortal Kombat made a wrestling game, but didn't try as much as they normally do. And that's what the result of that is.
Is there any other reason?
It sucks. It's not a wrestling game. It's a fighting game. It's a combat game. Undertaker throws ghouls at you.
Right.
Shawn Michaels hits you with a baseball bat. Razor Ramon hits you with a razor blade. Doink does a hand buzzer to you. It's not wrestling. There's 2 out of 3 rounds. It's a fighting game. It's Mortal Kombat.
And I throw back at you.
What?
Look at every other wrestling game before that. It stinks. Like, control-wise, it's not accessible to the normal person that buys a video game.
WrestleFest, though, Quinn. If you want to talk wrestling arcade games.
Right, but they couldn't get that on console. We're talking about console here.
Yeah, but WrestleMania was in the arcade game. Why do you think it's called WrestleMania the arcade game?
No, but I'm saying this game, as silly and goofy, like whatever you think of it, it was very accessible and it was fun. Like, you have to admit it was fun. Like, it was cool doing the Hurricanrana with Shawn Michaels across the ring, or all these different moves, like Razor with the razor blade.
I know.
Yeah.
In the same way, it was cool to do the Bill Clinton code on NBA Jam, and it was like,
love those games.
It's Midway.
So what are you arguing? Like, it's Midway at like their height too.
First of all, the Super Nintendo port eliminated Yoko and Bam Bam. There's only 6 characters,
but
and I
in
had
the Genesis version, you could be them.
They all suck. The only good version is probably console-wise PlayStation or Saturn.
Well, that's later, but yeah.
And the arcade version's good, but it's not better than WrestleFest, Slam Masters, or No Mercy.
Okay, I'll say this.
Yes? You really lost credibility there with
WrestleFest.
me. You better.
I think that there's a fair argument for WrestleMania the arcade game or King of the Ring or In Your House or whatever they are.
WrestleMania the arcade game is bad. In Your House is worse. WrestleFest is better than both.
WrestleMania the arcade game is okay, but
I don't know about that, Quinn.
I just think it's more accessible.
We have a very differing philosophy there.
It's controversial, that one. There's a lot of disagreement on that one.
I like WrestleFeast.
Yeah. WrestleFest is good. It's mainly the graphics, but I'll give it to it.
It's got good gameplay. It's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not great.
Pat Patterson's the ref in there.
Okay.
Throw him out of the ring.
Do it.
All right, so for number 3, WrestleFest. All right, Quinn, we got one more. We've talked about No Mercy. We've talked about Saturday Night Slam Masters. For some godforsaken reason, you're bringing up WrestleMania the arcade game, which is not going to fly, pal. I'm not.
If that's not going to fly, I mean, honestly, there's nothing I can throw on here that's better than No Mercy.
I agree. That is if SmackDown 2.
I know we were like going to be strict about the system or whatever.
Yeah, but it's our rules, right?
Yeah.
If SmackDown 2 was the ultimate in terms of that era of video games on the PlayStation side of things, that was their pinnacle, that was their apex. No Mercy was that for the N64 side of things. It was like a final goodbye for that era before they branched into, what became their main thrust was the PS2 and then 3 era. If Revenge is the WCW's pinnacle, No Mercy is definitely the WWF's pinnacle there, and it is a very fondly remembered game. I personally like it very much. We're really video gaming it up right now, so if we're alienating any of you normal wrestling fans out there, we apologize, but just wait for the review that we're doing next. That'll get you right back to your comfort zone.
Right.
But Quinn, I have to say, if we're really going to go through all these here and really talk the best of anything we've mentioned, it's No Mercy.
Yeah.
Hands down.
It has to be No Mercy.
It has to be.
I'm glad that there was healthy discussion about it, only because I think No Mercy gets like a free pass for no reason.
I personally like Revenge better.
Yeah, I personally do too. And I like WrestleMania 2000 better, believe it or not. But,
I know you do.
Yeah, but I just think it's like, oh, it's the last one. It's like, it's thought of that way, like in retrospect, by people who may have not been there to actually experience that.
Maybe. I do know people loved it when it came out.
Yeah.
We remember
They
that.
loved it.
It was very well regarded.
But also SmackDown came out around the same time, too. So it's like...
It was, hey, they nailed it. On each side of the consoles there, they put out great games around the same time. So we're going to go No Mercy for number 4.
Yep, let's do it.
Alrighty. Well, that is our Mount Rushmore of wrestling video games, old school wrestling video games. We were told not to recap for Donnie anymore. Do you remember that? So I'm not going to.
Somebody told us.
We listen to our fans here.
Yeah.
We always listen to our fans.
Well, what if Donnie retorts, like,
please recap for me?
Yeah, then we have to turn it because we listen to our fans.
Exactly. So, Donnie, if you're out there, you can say it. It's fine. But, Quinn, you're going to give me one of the worst right now.
WWF Attitude. That game sucked.
Tell me why, Quinn.
Okay, so picture yourself in like 1999, probably 1998 because it took so damn long to come out.
It did.
And I remember I got Warzone and that blew ass.
Warzone did blow ass.
Right.
What the hell, man?
So I'm like, oh, well, they're going to make a better game. And I remember talking to the guy at like electronics boutique or whatever and like
games
and he was like, oh yeah they're improving it so much, it's going to be so much better, right?
Are you serious?
Yeah. And
the guy said this?
Yeah, he said that.
He's lying.
Well, a lot of people hyping it were talking about the Create a Wrestler,
which was very good.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie,
it was good.
It was really good,
but the wrestling was awful.
It was the same as Warzone. They didn't help the engine at all.
Yeah, the engine was awful. So,
and that was the biggest complaint about Warzone was the engine.
Yeah, so I remember reserving it almost like a year before it came out, like because it was supposed to be like a quick, like it was quick follow up, and then it like never came out. And I remember like going to EB like every month and like, do you have Attitude yet? Do you have it? Because it's before the internet.
Right, correct.
So, like, slightly before
everyone had the internet. It was
right.
Yeah.
So, eventually it shows up, and I put it in my PlayStation, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's the same fucking game.
It was, except Shane McMahon was now on commentary with King.
Oh, that shot was nearly catastrophic. Oh, yeah, that's the way. That's the way to do it, Kingfish. That's what it's all about.
Oh, there were more wrestlers, yes, but it was Mosh. Like, like some of the wrestlers that they added, it was like, do you give a shit?
I don't give a shit about adding wrestlers when it sucks to play the game.
When you have to do like a Hadouken to do a punch. Like, I'm not even kidding.
It was so bad.
Why did you have to like use like a move lift to do like a chop?
It was like any basic thing required you to be like an astrophysicist. Like it was like ridiculous.
It's very easy to do a body slam. You just press up, down, left, right, X.
Great.
Whatever it was.
That's like the height of like people not understanding like how to do a wrestling game. It's like
that's a claim, by the way.
They were like sort of there with like Raw, but then they like just took this really bizarre like turn with like WWF Attitude and Warzone.
I agree. And that's one of the reasons why the THQ stuff was such a refreshing thing.
Yeah, and it looked a lot like the Attitude Warzone games, which concerned me when I saw the previews.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when SmackDown came out, I was genuinely stunned that it was like different and didn't suck balls. Like, I'm serious.
No, I know, because their reputation had been bad, but I would argue, Quinn, that their reputation was bad. I'm going to volley to you. all the way back in 1989's original WrestleMania for NES.
Oh God, that game. That game looks nothing like wrestling, first of all. Like, they're like midget trolls fighting each other.
And again, we know NES limitations, but holy shit, does that look bad.
They even made, like, better ones afterwards.
Right.
Sort of better.
Yeah, no, that really
They
was
were, like,
one of the worst.
Inching their way towards that LJN system.
And this is the one where, like, you don't even see, like, the front of the ropes. Like,
Yeah.
it's cut off.
Yeah.
Chicken wanders by for Andre or something, and Hogan's crucifix and Honky's guitar.
Yeah.
And it's got Strike Force's music under it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with that game that always it holds in my heart is because of that time you made a tape for me and you told me it was a rare Hulk Hogan match or something and you tricked me.
Yes, I did.
And I actually genuinely laughed.
Yes.
Because you even like videotaped yourself and introduced it and
Yes, I
stuff.
did.
You were like, this is a rare match. Nobody's ever seen it.
Yes, Hogan Andre, right?
Yeah.
In fact, let's take you to it right now. This is Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant from 1988. I'm not sure of when, but it's from 1988. It wasn't the one that was on the main event or WrestleMania, okay? Here it comes. Hogan and Andre.
I was like holding with bated breath. Like I was like, holy shit, where'd he find this?
I was just being a jokester at age 17 or whatever I was there.
That was funny, but that game is ass.
Can we put that on as number one before we even bother with Attitude?
Oh.
Or do you want to put Attitude on first? I'll put either.
I got to put Attitude on first.
I'll go with
Attitude was like a disappointment. WrestleMania was just like a retroactive, like, what the fuck is this game?
Can I just ask you this?
What?
And by the way, I too had reserved Attitude from the same EB games, and I didn't know you yet.
Yeah.
I met you
like
September.
a year later.
Not even months later.
Okay.
Attitude came out in August of 99. I met you September 2nd, 99.
Jeez, that game was like the game when we were friends, like initially.
But I reserved it. It was supposed to come out in May.
Yes. This is what I meant, like, about going, like, it was supposed to come out, like, really.
And I had to go there, like, what? Where is the game? And they're like, oh, it's not here yet.
Yeah.
I was like, what? What do you mean it's not here?
Yeah.
Anyway, is that what makes it worse than Warzone? Because technically Warzone's got even less features.
Warzone, you didn't know what you were getting into.
Okay.
Attitude, you thought it was supposed to be better.
And it's not.
It took forever to come out, and it just sucked. It was the worst.
I'm fine. You want to die it?
Yeah, die.
Number one, Attitude. This is PlayStation.
Die.
I guess it was also on 64 and Dreamcast, but who cared?
Yeah.
I'm fine with putting WrestleMania on there as well.
WrestleMania, the
NES
original WrestleMania. I am too, because that game
sucks.
Stinky.
It's a really bad game.
Yeah.
However, I think we would be remiss, Quinn, if we did not mention WCW's bastion of shittiness, WCW Thunder for PlayStation.
Oh my God.
The infamous WCW Thunder.
Not the show, the video game.
WCW Thunder, folks, if you've never heard of it, if you've never seen anything of it, it is legendarily bad.
It's a pile of ass.
It doesn't work right.
Yeah.
It's the sequel to Nitro, which
I had.
And Nitro's not good either.
Here's the thing. After I played Nitro, I was like, I'm never playing a game like this. And as soon as I saw Thunder, I was like, oh, it's like Nitro? Then fuck this game.
Right.
Yeah.
So much so that they carried over a lot of the same actual code of the game. They didn't try. You know what I mean? Like they just didn't. They overwrote like colors and tried to turn it into a different game.
Yeah.
It doesn't play right. It glitches. It sucks. The character select screen is the funniest thing in the entire world.
And, we didn't mention that about Warzone and Attitude, by the way.
Yeah.
The videos of the wrestlers.
Oh, like the Ahmed Johnson Warzone video?
The infamous Ahmed Johnson one.
You ready? What that stupid little out the face? Cause it's time to meet the real superstar WWF.
Of course.
That's the one that like people talk about, but a lot of them are shit.
And they're all like hungover during them and horribly acted.
It's clearly like either after a show, but after the party after the show, like where they're just like, can you just say some shit? Like basically like, they're awful, Joe.
They're all awful.
They're so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, you beat me once, but I never lose twice.
Yeah, Thunder is really terrible. Thunder is like the height of that shit.
When you step into the ring with me, you are gonna find out what it's like when I put the apocalypse and drop you.
I say for number 2, Thunder. I don't think it needs further debate.
Yep.
Die.
What about WCW Backstage Assault?
You know what? I was actually going to bring that up, but only in the context of I've never played it myself, so I can't say if it was bad or not.
I played a bit of it just to see, because it was one of those games on the list of shitty games.
That's their last game, actually.
Yeah, so the problem with it is you never fight in the ring. Like,
right.
Not
That's
at all.
the one where there's no ring.
It's
Vince
like,
Russo's wet dream.
Yeah, it's like basically Vince Russo the game. Like, it's unbelievable. I can't believe that somebody made a wrestling game where you never fight in the ring.
That's horrible, actually. Yeah. It's like a Street Fighter where you don't fight in the street.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazingly bad, and it's like EA again. It's the shitty system.
Yeah. When EA took over WCW's contract.
Yeah.
You know what else is really bad, though, Quinn? And we were talking about Attitude. Remember when Acclaim got their hands on the ECW?
Right. So this goes into the whole Attitude shit.
Yes.
So here's ECW, right? Now, all the video games of wrestling, like the companies that had video games, they had all gotten games first, right? And WWE had since abandoned the shitty Warzone engine that was designed specifically for them.
Acclaim, yeah.
And guess who gets the sloppy seconds once ECW finally gets like a video game and they get the shitty Warzone engine. I felt bad.
God, Hardcore Revolution in 2000.
Yeah.
Player 2 is having a hard time getting up.
It was the same game, except with Joey Styles doing the commentary,
right?
And the ECW roster. Here's the problem: it wasn't improved upon at all.
Yeah,
it was the same game.
It was so shit.
But do we allow that, or do we have pity on it because it's poor little ECW?
See,
you know,
I feel like we put Attitude in.
And that's enough?
It's the same shit, just with ECW
Does
people.
it encompass the whole engine? Like Attitude?
I think enough.
Okay.
Like, obviously the ECW games suck, but, like, it's not their fault.
True,
Like, I
it's
feel
not.
like that engine was not, like, designed for them.
That's true.
They just got it because nobody was using it, basically.
They wanted the video game.
Yeah.
Now, we still have WrestleMania, Quinn, hanging in the balance here for NES. It's a really bad game. I dare anyone out there to try to play it now and actually enjoy it. You can't.
It sucks. It's terrible.
And that's not because it's on the NES.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best games ever are on the NES.
Right. It's just some games are not as good.
No, and that's one of them.
NES had so many games that there was a lot of shitty games.
I'd say more than good.
It's just like, what is it, like Nintendo DS? Like it's known for having like some of the worst games ever just because there was like thousands of games.
Right, exactly. Now, there's also a really bad one, and it's much less well-known, Quinn, on Nintendo, from 1993, called King of the Ring. Now, this is the one where the wrestlers look like they were drawn by me in 1993.
Yes.
They fall on each other, like, slowly.
It's one of those wrestling games where they didn't make it
Finish
look
it?
good. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think because it was 93 and it was NES, it was like the afterthought game.
Yeah, it is, I swear.
It was probably just a cash grab. It's like, well, we can make an extra couple bucks off this. And probably they did. But
literally a couple of bucks.
Yeah, and I don't know if it paid for even the development of it, but
I don't think
then again, it could have because it looks like garbage.
I swear, it's just like scribbles, and they
fall. It's like the developer of like Raw and Royal Rumble, like, said like to their kid, like to draw the characters because daddy's too busy making the real game,
and the kid gave it to the dog, and the dog drew him.
It was probably the father of the guy who designed Shawn Michaels in Raw.
What's your problem with Shawn Michaels in Raw? The red pants?
The red pants and the terrible yellow
Blonde
hair.
Yeah. What is with the...
He looks so much better in Royal Rumble. What happened?
I don't know. In Royal Rumble, he's got the actual Shawn Michaels tights.
Yeah.
And the hair color is right.
That's one of the weirdest regressions in a wrestling game I've ever seen.
That and the narcissist Lex Luger looks pretty good in Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
But USA Luger's got a blonde curly.
At least his tights are good.
Tights are good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Quinn, so I would say King of the Ring is worse than WrestleMania for NES.
You think?
I do. I will stand behind that.
Fine. Yeah, I agree.
It's really bad.
It is really bad.
It's one of the worst wrestling games I've ever played.
Yeah.
So for number 3, King of the Ring.
Die.
Got one more, Quinn. I'm fine with WrestleMania still. We've got Backstage Assault.
Yeah, I think Backstage Assault, honestly, just because why the hell is this a game?
I've never played it. So you will vouch for it as being one of the worst?
It's shit, Joe. It's just bad.
I do know that it's true that there's no ring. That I know.
Yeah.
It's Vince Russo, the game.
I don't know.
As you said.
I mean, I don't like the Super Nintendo WCW game very
Ooh,
much.
Super Brawl, it's awful.
Yeah, that game stinks.
The best part of that game, though, Quinn, is the roster on that. Like,
it's decent.
No, this is what I mean. The roster's really good, right?
Yeah.
Barry Windham.
Cool. Yeah.
Brian Pillman.
Awesome.
Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah, I'm on.
Johnny B. Bad.
I'm on board with all this, yeah.
Ric Flair.
Yeah, Johnny B. Bad.
Yes.
Like, that's crazy.
Rick Rude.
Awesome.
Rick Steiner.
Amazing.
A lot of Ricks. Ricky Steamboat.
This is confusing.
Ron Simmons, who I think was gone in 94. I don't know. Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
Sting.
Yeah.
Vader.
This
Great roster.
is all good. It had a weird character select screen.
It did. They like say weird things. Tony Schiavone's like in the corner
It's
doing
like the
commentary.
precursor to Nitro's character select screen.
Yeah.
I'm bad.
But the gameplay is so poor. Like you might say lousy.
Yeah, pretty lousy. But still, WCW Backstage Assault, how do you forget the ring? Like again,
Okay, you win.
I can't say it enough. Like, it doesn't matter, even if it was like a decent game, it's a wrestling game without a ring.
Right. Now, there were some unlicensed game, like, without a major banner. Like, remember Backyard Wrestling and all that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like this is shit on a higher level. 'Cause this is WCW,
Yeah.
And even though I've never fully played it, I may have tested. I don't remember. I'll vouch. I'll let you vouch for it, Quinn.
Yeah,
if you're saying it's one of the worst,
it's shit.
There's no ring.
There's no ring.
That's the best part.
Yeah,
there's a wrestling game with no ring.
Yeah.
Who goes to a baseball game to sit in a seat?
Right, exactly.
Who goes to a ballpark to sit in a seat?
It should just for that, it should be there. Like, I don't even need to, like, it could be the best gameplay in the world, but it doesn't have a wrestling ring in a wrestling game. How? That's like a because WCW.
Yeah.
That's like such a WCW thing to do.
They forgot the ring.
Yeah.
Like, just have the option to be in the ring or not.
They own the license. They can't, somebody didn't go to the developer, see what they were making, and was like, hey, there's no ring. Like anybody, they could have sent Shivani there or something. Like
Shivani.
Anybody just to, like, on their behalf to say, like, hey, you gonna put a ring in this game? Like,
we can't sign off for this without a ring.
Yeah.
For number 4, WCW Backstage Assault.
Die.
Well, that's our Mount Rushmore and Death Valley of wrestling video games, old school wrestling video games.
Yeah.
We want to thank Jimmy Borden for the suggestion. And as always, let us know what we forgot. Let us know what you disagree with. Let us know why we were wrong or right. And you can do that on Twitter, via our email, or of course, go to the hijinks and shenanigans at our Facebook group. Quinn, when we come back, it's time to go down south because we are reviewing something. Back after this.
It's WCW NWO Revenge, only on Nintendo 64. Nintendo Power says WCW NWO action is bigger than ever. Fans will eat this one up. Featuring over 60 of WCW and NWO superstars with custom finishes and trademark moves. 4-player Battle Royal mode with double teaming and more weapons than ever before.
Get addicted.
Call 1-800-WCW-8661 to order now. Also available wherever video games are sold.
Revenge is just too sweet.
Hey, it's Sean Mooney. I may no longer be in the event center, but if I was, I'd be talking about our Vantage Point Retro Wrestling Podcast. All right, boys, let's get to it.
And welcome back, wrestling fans, to our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast, episode number 53 here on October 16th, 2017. I guess, Quinn, we should remind everyone real quick before we forget, this is our last episode for the Place to Be Nation.
Yes, it is.
So please make sure, if you've only been listening on that feed and you still want to listen to us, head on over to your preferred podcatcher app.
Yes.
And subscribe.
Yeah, type our name in, like our Vantage Point Retro Wrestling Podcast, not Place to Be.
Nope.
Just get it on there.
Regular, just our feed, and we'll be there every week without fail, every single Monday.
Yep.
New episodes in your thing.
Yep. In your thingy-majiggy.
In your thingy-majiggy. Quinn, we are reviewing something.
Are we now?
Yeah, this came in the mail. This was the Midnight Rider, of course.
Another mail selection here.
He did this on purpose to us. I know this.
This one felt intentional.
It was. It totally was. So, folks, what we are reviewing is WCW Pro what? No.
Now this
Pro
is like
golfing?
This is like the alternate version of Prime, I guess.
Yeah, I think Prime is more the alternate version of Pro.
Well,
it's hard to tell, actually.
It is hard to tell.
Basically, though, what WCW Pro was was a show that was originally syndicated, and it grew out of an old JCP show. But after the merger that we talked about,
yes,
of Jim Crockett Promotions and GCW and then Ted Turner, it became NWA Pro Wrestling in the mid-'80s.
Now, was this I'm just asking for my own knowledge.
Yes,
was
sir.
this a spin-off of Main Event, NWA Main Event?
It was not. It was a show that grew out of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling from like the late 50s or something.
Okay.
The
Wow.
original Jim Crockett. And then we had reviewed, they split it up for a while in the early 90s, if you recall, Quinn, the Chicago WGN version.
Oh, yes.
And the New York version.
I remember that. I think we reviewed something of
We
that.
did. We
Yeah.
reviewed the Chicago version.
Mm-hmm.
By this point, though, in 1995, Pro is now not only a minorly syndicated show, it's also just on TBS.
Yeah.
But they're like, fuck it. Let's just, no one's syndicating this anymore.
We have no place to put
Yes,
this.
put it on TBS because Turner obviously owned TBS, like we
Right.
mentioned. This is right before Nitro. This is July 22nd,
Yeah.
1995. Right before Nitro. So, Quinn, let's get right into it here. We have a yucky video game intro, I called it.
Which is like every WCW thing back then. See, this is why I like certain things in the mid-'90s with WCW.
Go ahead,
because
Quinn.
I always love these little, like, fake video game-ish style intros and songs that WCW has. I always say this, though. Like, it feels like everyone that comes out has a video game music intro.
You are right about that. There's
Yeah.
something very video gamey about it. And I
Yeah.
guess wrestling and video games go hand in hand, like we talked about for the Rushmore.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, let's get right into the hosts here. We have Chris Cruz.
Oh, we do.
Dusty Rhodes.
American Dream.
And unfortunately, New World Odor himself,
Yeah.
Larry Zbyszko.
He's quite an odor in this broadcast.
They're blatantly in front of a green screen. You thought WWF's green screens were blatant.
this is really bad.
They're not
Like,
even trying.
This is like not trying at all. I don't even think there's a seat in the arena as high as they're standing.
Thank you. I was just going to say, it's like that shot from the crowd for like the Royal Rumble video game for Super Nintendo.
See, this is the problem when you do a green screen, right?
Yes.
If you're filming it, put it at some perspective where they
Where
could
it's
actually
plausible.
stand.
Right.
Not like, don't take the camera that's on the roof and then put them in front of that. It doesn't make any sense.
I know. Anyway, so before we saw the announcers, actually, I should mention there was a very small video package in the beginning.
It's pretty small.
Hyping up our main event of Colonel Parker calling the Nasty Boys fat.
Yeah, it's a small video package about fat people.
But, Dick, there's a couple of fat boys running around here using your name, calling themselves the Nasty Boys.
Because apparently they're going to fight Bunkhouse Buck and Dirty Dick in our main event tonight, Quinn.
Feature.
Excuse me.
Featured contest.
Feature. And this is actually, I shouldn't have said tonight. This is the morning.
Yeah,
and they
sorry.
specifically say, good morning, everybody, you know?
Which plays into something later on, which is really funny.
Which is awesome, yeah. So they talk about Baywatch at the beach.
Yeah, remember we reviewed that.
Yeah.
So we're experts on this.
The Baywatch Bash at the beach debacle
Yeah.
there. Larry, of course, sucks as always,
Yep.
Quinn. He says that he's chomping on the bit.
It's champing at the bit.
We got a couple of irate, nasty boys in the back chomping on the bit, waiting to get out here.
Why does nobody understand this? Champing at the bit. Look it up. It's real.
It is.
There is no chomping on the bit. That
No.
is not a thing.
You don't chomp
that
on the bit.
You say.
You champ at it.
Everyone's been saying it wrong for eons now.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Well, Larry Zbyszko's existed for eons, so.
You know how I know? He wandered into Bruno's yard.
Yeah, eons ago.
You said he's supposed to be so smart, but he's just awful.
Yeah, that's the thing about this that kills me the most
Yes.
is that Larry like always has this air of like I'm smarter than you, like blah blah blah, New World Odor, and like instead he just immediately makes himself look stupid with
He
the
does.
chomping at the bit or
Yeah.
on the bit or however the hell he said it.
And he doesn't get any better throughout the show. Let's just put it that way. So then we get highlights of Bash of the Beach 95. They claim, Quinn, that 100,000 people were there.
Highly doubtful. From even that crowd shot, there might be like 15 at the most. Maybe.
That's generous,
Yeah.
too. And of course there were. It's free.
Yeah.
And it's on a beach in the summer.
Now, did you notice a way they made it look like there was more people? Is they put a camera, but like in the middle of the crowd
Yeah.
where it looks like there's people as far as
Like
the
a
eye can
sea
see.
of people.
Right, but if you were standing in the middle of like 10,000 people, it would seem like there's 100,000 people. It would seem like there's a billion people.
Right.
Like, duh.
Well said, Michael.
Yeah.
So then we get a clip from Bash to the Beach pre-show or something of the Giant wandering out in what we were thinking was a puffy shirt. But no, it's not any puffy shirt, Quinn. What shirt was it?
It's his father Andre's Princess Bride shirt. I'm not making this up. His dad.
Anybody want a peanut?
I've said it all along. Everyone forgets, but it's true. He used to say Andre was his dad. I don't get why he just dropped that for some reason.
I think people got a little upset at them for saying that because it's not true.
Oh, come on.
It's not.
Why wouldn't his son also be a giant? Do we really know? He should be on that new show where they check the DNA.
Sting beat Meng, by the way, at Bash to the Beach.
Yeah, that's not hard to say.
But Sting beat Meng. Hawk helped him out. That helped. You love that.
Okay. Is this just a reprisal of the time that Legion of Doom looked at Demolition and F them over? Is this like the MO of anybody in the Legion of Doom? Is they just look at people and they fuck them over?
Mm-hmm. That's what they do.
I hate the Legion of Doom.
I do too. The Renegade Quinn defeated Paul Baby Arm Orndorff.
Yeah.
And of course Vader was booked to look like a big puss against Hogan.
Yeah, of course. But that's not how this came out in the Bash at the Beach or
the Baywatch at the
thing,
beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Baywatch thing, obviously, it was about real estate.
Yeah.
So Flair and Arn then attacked Vader, and you said to me, at least that recap was quick.
There is one thing we can now confirm, though.
What's that?
What we saw in this recap was that Dennis Rodman was that guy that was there. Remember in the Baywatch at the beach? We
they were
like,
trying
was
to
that
hide
Mr. T or
they
something?
They were trying to hide whoever it was in Baywatch.
Confirmed, Dennis Rodman.
It was Rodman. So let's get to our first match here. We have, believe it or not, the Macho Man. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah. You know what? I always say this, but when's the Macho Man? And he's right at the beginning. And this makes me happy.
Yeah. No, it's true.
There's no way this can be bad because Macho Man doesn't have a shirt on.
True.
Like, he doesn't look junky.
Nope.
It's just like a typical Macho Man on Superstars match.
Exactly.
It's
You're
good.
absolutely right here. And he's fighting a guy named Dino Casanova who has a gangster hat. He's supposed to be Italian.
Yeah, not to be mistaken with Dino Bravo. There's no Dino Bravo in this.
No. He was long since not here anymore.
Well, 2 years since. Not here anymore.
Quinn, you said to me the crowd here is way too big for WCW Pro.
Yeah, there's something going on here. Like, what was this filmed at? Because I
don't know.
It's way too large.
It is. It's actually a very large crowd.
Like, did they pre-tape Clash of the Champions?
No, that was live this time.
Sometimes did they?
I think they sometimes did, but I think it was live this year because they're hyping that later.
Whenever this was taped, it was at something else because they would not be here for Pro.
No.
And especially since they're talking about Saturday night tonight, like, okay, they booked the arena for the morning, and then they're like going to go, you know.
David Penzer, a member of our Facebook group. So is Chris Cruz, actually.
Yeah.
But, David Penzer's the ring announcer. Nick Patrick is the ref. He's puffy hair, no mustache, just in case you're keeping track.
We'll have to get Nick Patrick on the board soon.
I would love to actually.
Complete this sentence of people.
And you said to me, Quinn, as always, you appreciate that Macho Man with no shirt.
He's classic Macho.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the long pants, but that was like the Macho King. He looks like the Macho King here.
Yeah, like the 1990 Macho Man, basically.
Yeah, he looks awesome.
He does.
I have no problem with him here.
Now, Dino has really stupid tights, but he is still overall better than Dino Bravo.
I would say so. He's a jobber that kind of is trying to do something, like somewhat of a gimmick. He's got horrible tights, but his coming to the ring attire was actually pretty good with the hat and the jacket and all that.
It was nice. So Savage does, squash match things, gets the elbow for the win. Quinn, you said it was fine.
Yeah, this is fine.
There's no problem with it.
I have no issue with this match. It is what it is.
It was a squash that was literally 80 seconds. I don't know.
That's
it was
how you do
really
a squash.
short. Yeah, that's how you're supposed to. By the way, the commentary team here, we don't need 3 men for this show.
Well, this is under the Bischoff arm.
And who do you think the odd man out should be here? It ain't Chris Cruz.
Larry.
Yes.
Yeah, get him out of here.
Why is he here? Dino, shut up.
You know, what a tangled web we weave.
Was he hired because his girlfriend or whatever was friends with somebody?
Yeah, he probably wandered into her yard. Probably wandered into Bischoff's yard.
Yeah.
He stinks. Why would you have him as that's what I hear. So then we cut to Chris Cruz interviewing Savage in the actual arena, not a green screen.
This is interesting.
Christopher Bowtie Cruz, take it away and talk it to the Macho Man on the Pro Show.
This looks a lot like something on like 1991 WWF, like all of it, doesn't it?
91 Superstars almost.
Like,
it really does, the way it's shot.
Yeah, everything.
So Savage, in a very long and weird interview, talks about the upcoming Clash of the Champions and how Vader is fighting Flair and Arn. Why do we care what Savage thinks of that?
What I want to know is he at this thing?
I don't know.
Like,
they didn't say he was.
He didn't talk about any existing match he was in at all.
No.
And I still don't know. At the end, I'm just like, he doesn't like Flair, I guess.
But he's like, yeah, but Vader has 18 people inside of him.
He really likes Vader all of a sudden.
You got double trouble, brother. You're not 2 against 1. Vader's got about 18 people inside of him.
Didn't Flair beat Vader already, like a
One-on-one.
long time ago?
Yeah, it's Starrcade 93.
Why is all of a sudden he's like 17 men inside one man and no one can beat him, and that 2-on-1, they're gonna lose. Like,
and I'm pretty sure Vader won, if I'm not mistaken.
What is this?
And then he left like right after this.
Good
remember?
for him. This place sucks. Not that he got a better situation in WWF, but this place sucks.
This was bad at this point. So that was a pointless interview. It was very, very strange. But anyway, hey, you want to win a Hulk Hogan Harley or some shit? Well, you have to watch The Clash for details.
You want to win this really cool Harley?
How about new?
So we get that Romeo and Juliet Slim Jim commercial. Remember that one?
Now, this is funny because I say to you, right after Randy Savage did his interview or whatever, I said, I guarantee you in the next commercial break, there will be a Slim Jim ad. And without fail.
Yep. And you also said to me, what kind of school is this where Randy Savage is just waiting backstage during your play?
Yeah, what kind of school is this where, like, shit explodes on the stage?
Art thou bored? Yeah. Step into a Slim Jim.
How is it exploding? Like, was there explosives? What school is this?
I don't know, actually. But then we get a trailer for a movie that I forgot about, which is good. It's starring Denzel Washington, Quinn, and it's called Virtuosity, and apparently there's like a guy that is a robot criminal.
So it says that over like 10,000 serial murderers were like downloaded into his head, and now he's like the ultimate killer or something, that Denzel Washington's going to fight him.
Speaking of things I forgot about, it's George Kennedy for Breath Assure. Remember Breath Assure? It was like the Tic Tac that you took in pill form.
Yeah.
Remember those weird ass things?
I remember the ad with George Kennedy.
Yes. And
but by the way, if you want to get your Breath Assure, call 1-800-257-1234.
Are there CODs?
Just no fucking CODs, Joe. Never.
So we go to our Clash of the Champions report with Mean Gene. You had a very fair question. How did they just carbon copy everything that WWF was doing?
Literally a copy of Update.
It is!
And even how the updates were when Gene was leaving. Like, remember how he wasn't in front of the control center anymore? He was in front of, like, a green screen like, with video scope in the back or something.
Here's your King of the Ring report or whatever.
It's like Gene was like, I got an idea, Ted Turner. Let's just do this that I did over there. And, like, here, I'll let you borrow the graphics while you're at it.
Fuck it.
So as we were talking about here, there's a lot of Clash hype. It's live August 6th from Daytona Beach, Florida. We have Flair and Arn versus Vader. What do you think of that, Quinn, as a match on paper?
Who cares?
Okay, fair enough.
Other than the fact that I believe this is what leads to Flair and Arn like splitting up and having that really weird feud for like 5 minutes before they reform the Horsemen again.
In fact, wasn't that covered on one of the Nitros we reviewed recently?
Maybe, yeah.
Flair and Arn, right? In a cage.
In a cage on Nitro in the main event.
In that weird ass match, yeah. But Quinn, we also have the big rematch from Bash at the Beach. We have Baby Arm Orndorff versus the Renegade for the TV title.
I hope Baby Arm wins.
I think he does. No, he doesn't, right?
No, Mr. Wonderful TV champion like this late in 95? No.
Arn wins it back from Renegade, right?
Maybe?
But here's another thing that you need to know about, folks. The Collision in Korea pay-per-view.
Oh, shit.
August 4th.
Now, mind you, North Korea.
You have to be there, literally.
Like you have
to be there.
Like I'm pretty sure like people had AK-47s to their back, and they're like, "You better watch this damn wrestling."
They hype up Flair versus Antonio Inoki, and they hype up that it's 140,000 people.
You have to not fall asleep for your life.
Basically, you better be cheering for this shit.
Yeah. What happens if you like cheer the heel and boo the face? Like, do they get mad? Do you think
cheering the heel and booing the face—that's called WWE 2017.
But I'm saying there's cops there to enforce it now.
That's what they should do in the WWE this time. You better fucking cheer, Roman.
Vince just takes every event to North Korea.
Like Roman will be the most over face you've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Anyway, Quinn, a Judge Dredd promo for the game.
Yeah, that game sucked.
How about Big A Auto Parts? Get a car battery, you dickhead.
Just a reminder, when you need them, we got them.
What was with this? Is another weird craze in the 90s, by the way. You know how we talked about the sunscreen?
Yeah, and the
before?
acne craze, of
Yeah,
course.
the acne craze. But you better have a fucking car battery.
Yes.
And you better have your motor oil taken care of.
Yeah, or else you're an asshole.
It was a big thing.
Castrol GTX,
Yeah.
all that
and
shit.
only Castrol. You better pick Castrol because they use it in race cars and shit.
Time for our next match. Frank Anderson, who...
He's like a dumpy, Ludwig Borga Glacier, vaguely European. He's Swedish, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's fighting Chris Sawyer, who is, I guess, another today's Tom Sawyer.
Or today's Chris Sawyer.
Exit the warrior, today's Tom Sawyer.
What the fuck is this? Who are these people?
So this is the typical, here's this guy that sort of looks okay. He looks like Jean-Claude Van Damme or something. He's suave, debonair. He's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
He is.
Versus ugly ass today's Tom Sawyer.
He looks like Gallagher, the comedian.
He looks so bad. And you know what? I have to say, this is kind of fucked up in today's perspective because it's just saying oh, look at this fat loser. This is what happens to you if you look like that. That's basically what they're saying.
Leg sweeps abound. Seriously though, who is this guy?
Yeah, I've never heard of him. And I bet you this Anderson fella, I bet you they asked him to lose one match and he's like, fuck no, I just did this to make quick buck. I ain't messing up my reputation.
You honestly
And that's
might
why
be
we
right.
never heard from him again.
So his side headlock by Sawyer. Oh, who the hell cares? The announcer talking about the Renegade or something.
Yeah.
Paul Orndorff deserves another shot at the Renegade. This time, I don't think the Renegade's going to be so lucky.
Sawyer, by the way, has Earthquake's hairstyle. The John Tenta. That's how sloppy this guy looks.
Both these guys have really bad names. They sound like just people.
Not wrestlers.
Yeah, it just sounds like you or me.
Anderson and Sawyer, LLC.
Yeah, Frank Anderson, Tom Sawyer.
Fireman's Carry Suplex by Anderson. This is way too long, by the way.
It is. They're giving a lot of time to Frankie over here.
And I'd also like to point out, in the spirit of them copying early 90s WWF, there is this dubbed-in crowd cheering at nothing.
Constantly. Yeah.
You could see the crowd.
You could dub in crowd cheering behind us during the entire review of this, match.
That's how it would be.
Understand what we're talking about.
Right. And you could see the crowd with your eyes on the screen.
And they don't give a shit.
They're sitting there bored.
Yeah, they're not even moving.
They look like they're watching a very sad play.
Look like they're watching TV. They're watching this show on TV in their living room. Except they're there.
Dusty, in the midst of all this, calls someone a milk drinker. It's he's a milk drinker.
This
and
whole
three
rant,
meatballs.
This is Dusty rant number 1 that's insane. Something about Swedish meatballs.
He doesn't care at all.
You're probably going to have to drop this one in here.
I will, don't worry.
He's a milk drinker. He goes out there, and I went over to his training camp, and I thought I'd go over there at lunchtime, and I get some Swedish meatballs, and they be drinking eggs and stuff. They be drinking eggs and stuff, all put in a blend and everything.
So then Frank Anderson here with the worst kick
I've
ever seen.
Yeah, bad.
And then a really bad belly-to-belly suplex for the win.
And I say to you, he's shitty Alex Wright, basically.
Yeah, he's Alex Wrong.
They got Alex Wright shortly after this, and they're like, oh, he's better as our vague European person.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. The German guy better than the Swedish guy in this case.
Yeah.
Germany won.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. Commercials, Quinn, 5-star school supplies. Remember those shits?
Yeah, they weren't 5-star matches today, but 5-star school supplies.
Well,
definitely.
if we were in Japan, they might have been.
Yeah.
With 20-somethings.
Yeah, I
way
never
too
understand this. The girl and the guy both look like they really don't belong in high school. Maybe in college,
yeah, exactly.
but not in high school.
Not in high school. Then we get a Twix commercial with Flannel McGee and 2 old ladies. I don't know what it's all about there.
Oh, this starts the constant thing with Twix where there's 3 different commercials, but it's always some kid escapes to some corner of the house, or I believe this is the one with the coat room.
I think this is the one with the coat room. He's at his old aunt's house or something.
They're pinching his cheeks or something.
So he's like, oh man, I gotta go have a Twix.
Yeah, and it's oh, thank God. What is, it's like he's a bad smoker, and he's I really gotta get my fix.
I need my freaking Twix fix. Yeah. How come they never use that catchphrase?
Twix fix, that's a good one. Well, maybe they didn't want to promote addiction to anything, especially chocolate that will rot your teeth.
Batman and Robin video game promo, and then a really weird Coke commercial where the Sun was drinking
even the
Coke.
Sun drinks the Coke. It doesn't drink Pepsi. The official drink of the Sun. How do you beat that?
Clueless trailer, and then the Padres, Quinn, are playing the Braves tonight.
Yes, in a commercial that dates this. It's basically a game for this day.
Yeah,
it's
so
completely
old.
Irrelevant.
Absolutely.
And you could probably look that up on Baseball Reference who won it, but who gives a shit?
I really don't. It's the Padres and Braves. But Quinn, let's go into the Dungeon of Doom, shall we?
Into the actual dungeon this time.
We have the Master himself there, Curtis Ikea.
Yeah.
We have the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan. And I guess they're trying to find who their best Hogan opponent is going to be.
Yeah.
First candidate here, Kamala.
Why would you ever pick Kamala to help you? He's an idiot. He's a loser. Kamala here is worse, somehow, than when he was with the Reverend Slick and he went bowling with him and all this nonsense.
You know what? I have to agree.
It's somehow worse.
This is actually worse.
And that's really bad.
Really bad,
Like, I'm not saying that is good. But
you're right.
This is worse.
This is worse. And Kevin Sullivan's like, nah. So then the Zodiac wanders out.
And do you notice when the Zodiac comes out, first of all, he's one of the worst things ever. Second of all,
yes, he is.
What's his name? The Master, Curtis Ikea?
Yes.
He's too valuable to me. What?
The Zodiac's too valuable?
Yes, he says he's too valuable to waste against Hogan.
For the record, folks, the Zodiac is Ed Leslie with like black and white face paint and tights.
Yeah.
And all he does is say yes and no.
Yes! In what universe is Brutus the Barber Beefcake valuable to a faction?
He did just headline Starrcade 94 against Hogan.
Not as Zodiac. We're not supposed to know that.
Right, he was Butcher.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And now, our third candidate, Quinn, the Shark. Now, first of all, the Shark is poor John Tenta, the nicest man ever.
And this is the
Earthquake.
gimmick where he had to fix his tiger tattoo to make
his
it
LSU
into
tattoo.
Horrible.
Into a shark.
I hate that this happened to him. And by the way, why do they even hate Hogan again? Like, seriously, like, what did he do to them?
I don't... You know what?
Like, did he ever do anything to these people?
No, I think this is a case where as much as I don't like 95 Hogan,
right,
I have to side with Hogan.
Yeah, they just started bothering him one day. Like, it's like, what did he ever do to them?
He was in the middle of a feud with Vader, minding his own business
Probably
in that feud.
with Ric Flair, too.
Yeah,
you know,
Flair was, woo, 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 I'm a woman.
Right.
And for no reason, Kevin Sullivan's like, I don't like Hogan.
Kevin Sullivan never had any previous association with Hulk Hogan that I know of. Hulk Hogan never screwed him over or anything. He was too busy being the mystic in, like, Southeast Championship Wrestling or something.
And feuding with his brother Dave, Evad. Anyway, they say the Shark is on a tidal wave.
Hogan's always having to deal with the ocean, man. Every step, like the time he had to save Donald Trump in the ocean.
That's right. And then, like last week, where him and Tugboat were going to go in the ocean and under it or something.
Yeah, and I believe he's broken the fault line with Andre somehow.
He did,
like it's always like geological in some way.
Now, the one thing here, Quinn, that we really need to address is that the Master may have just said, "Eat shit, my son." We're not sure.
Yeah, it was very like, I don't know if like the tape quality or something. It was fucked up.
We'll leave it to you folks to decide.
Eat shit, my son.
But let's go to the ring. We have Shark and Kamala with Kevin Sullivan versus Tom Torres and Terry Morgan.
Match I never wanted to see.
Obviously not.
Shark and Kamala, that's like the worst team.
That's one of the worst. You thought the Natural Disasters were bad.
Again, in a match where like it's basically like a Coliseum fan written in match, like some shit they filmed.
Exactly.
Basically.
One of these jobbers doesn't have knee pads, by the way. So the fat team fats around while referee Nick Patrick wishes that he was anywhere else.
I wish that for him.
And you said to me, Kamala's doing nothing because he's an idiot. Is he still mad that he lost to Hogan in like 87?
That's the only thing I can think of. That's literally the only kayfabe reason he would be mad. And by the way, how did he even get here? What doesn't Safari Hat have to lead him places?
Yeah, that's right. There's no Safari Hat.
Yeah.
But I would like to make a declaration now. Whenever anyone says how bad the WWF was in 1995, show them this match. Thank you.
I'll address something here with that, though.
Go ahead.
As bad as this is, the WWF is just as bad. Wait.
Okay, I will.
It's just as bad.
I'll give you here.
And I will say this also.
There you go.
That.
The power voice, Quinn.
Yeah, the power voice. I will say this. WCW did a lot of bad things, but I feel like they did like one or two more good things than WWF did that year.
Okay, now
is that fair enough?
Back to our regular voices, yeah. I would say that WCW is marginally better.
Yes.
Because they launched Nitro.
Right, that's a big thing.
And Nitro was good.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. If they didn't come up with Nitro, if it wasn't Lex Luger in the puffy shirt in Mall of America, they might have been worse.
You know what's sad now that I'm just thinking about it?
Yeah.
Do you realize that there's like now 2 instances in 1995 of a puffy shirt on a wrestler with the Giant
and Lex Luger?
And Lex Luger. Isn't that weird?
There's probably more.
Yeah.
Triple H. 1995, Hunter Hearst Helmsley had the white puffy shirt.
Wow, everyone was wearing was the Seinfeld puffy shirt episode in 95?
I think it was more like 93 or 4.
Oh, wow.
But I don't want to be a pirate.
So they got the message 2 years late, but that's wrestling for
That's
you.
wrestling for you. So anyway, here, both jobbers don't have knee pads, I notice.
Yeah.
Why is this taking so long? Why is Larry Zbyszko not helping? Shark, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, Larry
yard.
Zbyszko completely useless.
Maybe that's just the parting of the waves so the shark can emerge from the deep.
Good.
Awful splash by Kamala, then he tags in his Shark, who wins with some weird, like, clothesline?
Yeah, I want to say they tried to give that a name.
The Shark Sandwich, maybe?
Yeah, they said something when he did it, and I was like, huh?
Well, I got 2 words. Shit sandwich.
The review you had on Shark Sandwich, which was merely a 2-word review, just said, shit sandwich.
The Giant is at ringside with a big leather coat now, by the way.
Yeah, now he's abandoned the puffy shirt.
He's in a big leather trench coat.
He looks cool, actually.
He does, but Kamala gets all scared at him.
Yeah, what a big pussy.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Chris Cruz is in the locker room, quote unquote, with Vader.
Shirtless.
Vader says it's Vader time, by the way.
Yeah.
And then he's like, let me throw a question mark in your head. Like, who is he? What is it, Sid?
I'm like more envisioning, like, you remember in Superman 2 when he throws the cellophane S?
Yes.
It's him throwing a cellophane question mark into our heads.
He's the man, of course. It's Vader time, blah, blah, blah. Watch Clash, okay? Just watch that show.
You better fucking watch it. It's Vader time, damn it.
Hey, do you want to win a bunch of root beer and a car? I'm not sure how, but you can. They didn't tell us how.
It's possible. What was that about?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, do you want Arizona jeans? Well, I don't either.
That was the shitty Penny's brand, right?
Yes, it was. And we get a pretty funny, actually, Subway commercial with old men. Because it was like during this era, Quinn, where you said they're trying to make it more like a New York sandwich shop.
Yeah, like
style.
Subway, we live around here. Right?
In New York area, yes.
Subway is like the shittiest like subs you can get.
Right.
Wawa has better subs.
They do, and
like
Quick Check.
Somehow.
Yeah.
That's how shitty Subway is.
Subway-
So they aren't even close to like New York style or
But
anything.
that's what they were trying to shoot for in this, right? And then we get a trailer for a movie called Species.
Yeah, I remember that movie. It's basically shitty Alien.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Then we get a clip of Kurosawa, who I initially thought was Kaz Hayashi or one
Me
of them.
too.
I actually did. It's Kurosawa. I had the Midnight Rider confirm that for me. Bottom line is he's training. He's coming. He'll be in the stud stable.
Wonderful.
It didn't last long.
Yeah.
You want to see Renegade versus Robbie Starr? Because that's now.
Nope. You know, I used to think the Renegade was cool, but wow, he looks so bad, Joe.
He really-
I can't believe that my kid brain didn't like notice this.
I didn't. I'll be honest, folks. When the Renegade debuted in the spring of '95, I think it was. I thought it was awesome.
I think what it was like the promise of like the Ultimate Warrior. Essentially, you were like, oh, it's going to be like the Ultimate
Just
Warrior.
like
And the
it.
Ultimate Warrior was so cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Except he's just literally like. It's like they found him on the side of the road and he had like long hair and they said, you kind of look like the Ultimate Warrior. And he's like, ah, and just ran down the ring.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And then he was there.
Maybe the Warrior turned them down in 1995.
I think he actually did.
Right. So Hogan says, let's get the next best thing and we'll build up this Renegade guy so I can beat him.
This is the next best thing?
Yeah, but the
I don't
NWO
even
happened
know.
and that screwed up his whole plan to get his win back until later.
That's true.
Yeah.
Crappy Splash gets the win for the Renegade. Then we get two very 90s people talking about deodorant.
I expect her to sweat if she's running a marathon.
Take some Alka-Seltzer if you're at a diner.
Yeah, I called this before
Yes, you
because
did.
I was like, it's either Tums or Alka-Seltzer because it was always like in a diner, you're eating food and you got to take a dump or something or your stomach hurts.
Because
and
the diner food is shitty.
And then there's always like a hun. Like she's
Yeah.
like, hey, here, I have the Tums, hun. You know, like one of those waitresses.
Yeah, they're always ragging on diners. What the hell, man?
Yeah. I don't like their disrespect, but
No, I never got agita from a diner.
Yeah.
And then Twix for when you're at your sister's shitty play.
Right. It's the same thing. He's at his sister's shitty play. He's like, I got to get away from this, man. And then he eats the Twix. It's like fantastic.
Now the play's good, you know, and
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
fixed. And then Mystic Wine Coolers, remember those?
Yeah,
Just like-
and they ask you, they do the worst thing you could do to a child and parent relationship.
What's that?
Ask the child to put his hands on the TV.
That's right.
Really? Like, if I'm a parent, I do not want my kids like greasy hands and fingerprints now on the TV. I got to go get the Windex and like clean it off because it's a CRT.
Anyway, Hot Pockets, yeah, they're around. And you know what?
Try Lean Pockets too.
Have you ever? They're not good.
No, but
they're not good.
I never took their advice. I was always like, I just want the pizza Hot Pockets. That's it. Don't offer me anything else.
They weren't good.
Okay.
So it's time for that feature contest we hyped up. It's Bunkhouse Buck and Dirty Dick Slater versus the Nasty Boys.
And I hope Buck and Slater win.
So do I, actually.
Because I think they are a very underrated tag team.
They really are. I'm not going to lie. They're actually very underrated. Now, here's a problem, though. We go to commercial again before this. Join the Army.
Yep.
Are you buying clothes? We'll eat a Twix when it gets boring.
Yeah, again, same thing.
Destinex is really good for athlete's foot.
Yes, it is.
Talking Ice Cubes really like to be in Coca-Cola.
They're fans of it.
Some jerk is in a boat and it's the worst commercial ever. Like the boat is just spinning around in circles.
Terrible.
Also, call Mean Gene because someone is leaving some company at some point.
This was always the vague threat. They probably sold so much hotline things because of the fact that people were just jumping from company to company and it was just normal day-to-day business. But since there's no internet, everyone's like, I gotta know.
Adam Bomb left right around this time.
Did he show up? When did he show up?
He never showed up, but he left at this time,
like
WWF.
Rosie or something like that.
And he had another year or so.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, back to the match. You said, Quinn, the world has been waiting for this contest.
They do act like that. They act like this is it. This is the moment they've been waiting for this morning on Pro.
Dusty's already teasing this Parker and Sherry thing, by the way.
I'm very impressed with the long build to this whole thing because they didn't get married till like the February Clash or whatever.
Yep.
I love it, actually. I'm a really big fan of this.
Very good build.
Yeah.
And Buck and Sax start the Nasties double team, blah, blah, blah. Buck and Dick are walking around on the outside. Knobs keeps threatening with the armpit thing.
The Pity City.
And you don't like the Nasty Boys in general or their logo?
Yeah, so there's a thing with the Nasty Boys that I don't like. Let's take the Public Enemy as like a counter example.
Sure.
The Nasty Boys claim they're like from the streets and all this shit, right?
Yeah.
The Public Enemy claim the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they literally have vignettes where they're like hobos. Like there's cans on fire, and that's like where they live under bridges and shit.
They're stealing stuff.
They're stealing stuff, and they don't have like they have like name brand stuff that's clearly stolen, but it's not like their own stuff.
Okay, so what about the Nasties?
The Nasty Boys, on the other hand, have their logo on their shirts their whole career. You don't just get like a logo of your tag team. That's like a team has to design that.
Maybe they used to make it themselves is the implication.
Oh, you're telling me one of these two doofuses is an artist?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Well, their armpits stink, and so does this match. No offense at all from the heels yet. Larry and Dusty are busy talking about triangles.
Great.
And we get more.
What is this, math?
I don't know. Yeah, we need a Twix. Then we get more Nasty Boys offense. Buck has his fingerless gloves though.
Yeah.
Which we liked, and he finally throws Knobs to the outside. Yay.
Thank God they start to get offense.
Finally. Then he's choking Knobs with a rope for fun outside,
which
is
good
great.
for him.
I know.
Yeah, good for him.
I always like Bunkhouse Buck. I'm not going to lie. I like this team, actually.
I like this team very much. They were just fun. Dirty Dick, underrated. Like
Very
that guy,
underrated.
where did that guy come from?
He was awesome.
Yeah, he was great.
So Parker gets in on the fun here. And
yeah, this is good.
You want to explain? Like he's grappling with Knobs?
He like wrestles Knobs like one-on-one.
Outside.
And he throws him down. He wins. He wins the encounter.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Parker being a big badass.
Yeah, he's good.
Right there, Colonel Parker. Knobs is using his weight to fight off Parker.
Carl Parker's good. As we know, he's good.
That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
Swinging neck breaker back in the ring by Slater, and now we're just openly rooting for Buck and Slater.
Oh, we're so come on. Yeah.
So then we get a boot to Buck's face, but Knobs cannot make the tag. Big back suplex by Slater for 2. A double punch by the heels here, but Knobs clunks and chunks his way back, but he cannot make the tag. This match, folks, has become good.
Unbelievable. I really
thought
didn't.
This was gonna suck
I
a
didn't
big
think
one.
this was going to turn. This took a weird turn, didn't it?
I thought this was really going to buck a dick, if you get my drift there. But it became exciting.
Yeah.
Knobs finally makes the tag, and Sags does his, like, slightly better offense.
Yeah.
He's like, Sags is the slightly better Nasty
I have
Boy.
to say this at this point. I do think Dirty Dick and Bunkhouse Buck are carrying the match.
They are.
They're the focal point. It's like, they're not supposed to win.
Yeah.
And they're kind of looking like they're going to win.
They're looking awesome,
yeah.
actually. So we get clotheslines by Sags, etc. But the heels fight back a little bit, but Sags clotheslines them both and makes another tag out to Knobs. Buck has his boot off on the outside. Quinn, watch out for that.
Yeah, because that is like a trademark of this team.
That's right.
Boot.
So we get Sags' shitty top rope elbow. He is not Randy Savage.
Yeah.
But Nick Patrick is distracted. Could this be it?
Oh, shit.
Parker hops in and he nails Sags with a boot, but Nick Patrick sees it. And the Nasties win by DQ.
They were so close.
Damn it.
If they didn't see Parker.
They just didn't see Parker.
Oh, man.
That was surprisingly fine.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Now, here's the best part of this whole thing. A little epilogue here. The announcers talk about Saturday night, which is tonight, right?
Right, tonight.
Tonight at 6:05.
The night of this show.
Buck and Slater are challenging Harlem Heat for the tag titles. Now, Quinn, they actually won them.
Did they really? This is where they won them.
Yes.
Oh!
But here's the best part about this. The Nasty Boys won them on May 21st, 1995.
Okay, so that's +1 reign.
Right.
Okay.
From Harlem Heat. But Harlem Heat won them back on May 3rd, 1995. Yes, they won them in the past.
Huh?
Because it aired.
Oh, yes.
It aired on June 24th. So that's where Harlem Heat on TV is the champions. June 24th, 1995.
Yes.
Even though they had really won them when they didn't have them. Slater and Buck won them before Harlem Heat actually won them.
What the fuck?
Wait. So did Harlem Heat come to the ring with the belts?
I don't know.
This is so
All
confusing.
I know is Slater and Buck won the titles and then finally lose them to Harlem Heat in September.
Right.
For real, and that cleans up the lineage. So
and I think that's when I started watching WCW, because I remember Bunkhouse Buck and Dirty Dick Slater were the tag champs at the time.
Yeah. That was very confusing.
It was confusing, but an awesome match, and awesome that they actually kept the continuity that they're going to have that match, and they actually won the belts after they lost by DQ earlier in the morning.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
As always, Larry Zbyszko sucks, and the announcers say goodbye. So that was not a good episode, but the match was good.
The main event was good. Yeah, it was a good feature contest.
Nothing else was really good, but that negative title reign shit is just so fucking, like, because WCW.
Right.
So overall, but it's a glimpse into the dying days of WCW before Nitro became their focus.
Yeah,
Let me put it that way.
The dying days of the old way.
Yes, that's what
WCW,
I meant.
Yeah.
Not like WCW was dying, but the last days before Nitro became the focus.
Right.
Before they really did pick up steam. Because let's be honest, January to September 95 WCW is really not that much better.
No.
If at all.
It's okay.
Than WWF from that time period.
It just seems more like things are happening because Nitro was more like the way they frame Nitro.
The way they frame it, yeah.
It seemed more exciting.
But that's only the last 3 months of the year.
Yeah.
It's mainly Hogan and Vader and Hogan being a horrible asshole. It's the Dungeon of Doom and it's a bunch of crap that no one cares about.
Right.
At least in WWF, you had Shawn Michaels, you had Bret Hart, you had some decent stuff.
They weren't really doing anything, but...
That's the problem. 1995, they really weren't doing anything.
Yeah.
But folks, we appreciate that we get to do stuff for you, our Retro Wrestling Podcast. And we thank you for always being with us every single episode. So thank you for joining us again. We will see you in a week for episode number 54. Remember, we are no longer on the Place to Be Nation starting next week.
Yes.
So if you want to listen, subscribe directly to our feed on iTunes. Don't forget to leave a review. Google Play Music, or anywhere else where you like to get your podcast. Reach us on Twitter at OVP Podcast. You can email us at ovppodcast@gmail.com. And of course, Quinn, they can go to the Facebook group.
Yep, go to the Facebook group and also check out the Patreon.
That's right, patreon.com/OVP Podcast. If you want to donate,
yes,
feel free to. We will be thankful, and we will never beg for your money, folks.
No, we won't.
So thank you so much for your support. Until next time, have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your week. We will see you next Monday, the 23rd, for episode number 54.
See ya.
Hi. What you're about to see? Smack 'em, whack 'em. Ooh, yeah. Thanks, Randy. This is WWF Smack 'em, whack 'em. That's right. It is slamming wrestling action. You heard me. Slamming wrestling action. Some of the matches we got: Bret Hart taking on Ric Flair, Kamala, and Yokozuna. We got body slamming, head hammering, roller information action. Never before seen footage shot exclusively for Coliseum Video. Matches include: we got Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels in a ladder match. Undertaker takes on Razor Ramon. Crush takes on the Berserker. Plus many more superstars in action. The Bushwhackers do some home improvement stuff. Razor Ramon and The Undertaker. That's right. And it has more exclusive matches and more exclusive features. Of course, it's Coliseum Video. 430 West 54th Street, New York, New York. 10197. That's right. Coliseum Video's headquarters there. Of course, you can always just go to Fairfield, New Jersey, 07007 if you want to get a Coliseum Video releases. This is January 1990. Jake Roberts on the cover. This is sponsoring today's program. That's Steve Austin up there. Hey, Quinn, you're watching this right now.
Will you stop?